Our protagonist, Rudeus, found himself in a rather contemplative mood, following a job that had gotten significantly more complicated than advertised. There were pet-abductors lurking about, and he could either leave them be, unwise, neutralize them permanently, too messy, too much paperwork, or take them in. Who could have predicted he'd pick the most convoluted option? Everyone. Even your grandmother saw this coming from a mile away. His logic was surprisingly sound in its own convoluted way. They needed money, and these two, Jalil the lizard man and Vizquel the bug lady, were D-rank adventurers who were far too cowardly to tackle anything more dangerous than finding Fluffy the cat. Rudeus, Eris, and Ruijerd were combat specialists stuck doing E-rank tasks as thrilling as watching paint dry. A match made in heaven, or at least a mutually beneficial business arrangement with a criminal aftertaste. He proposed a job swap. Jalil and Vizquel would take C and B-rank monster-slaying missions at the guild. Dead End would handle the simpler tasks. Afterward, they'd meet up and swap rewards. There was just one condition. Spread the word about Dead End all over town and make Ruijerd sound like a swell guy. Tell everyone about our good deeds, even if you have to make stuff up. Because nothing screams professional reputation management like asking your newly coerced criminals to lie on your behalf. Ruijerd grabbed Rudeus by the lapels. Villains will betray you in the end. Fair point. Rudeus countered with a nonchalant, 2 birds, 1 stone, which didn't impress Ruijerd in the slightest. Enter Eris, kicking Ruijerd squarely in the backside, repeatedly, bellowing, He's doing this for your sake, stupid. And mine. You did some evil things in the past yourself, didn't you? This left Ruijerd at a complete loss for words. In the stunned silence that followed, Rudeus pressed his advantage, gently. Ruijerd, the whole point of telling them to spread Dead End's name is to help people see you differently. Isn't that worth tolerating a bit of moral ambiguity? You want me to allow criminals to speak on my behalf. I want criminals to tell the truth on your behalf. They just might have to. Embellish the parts where the truth isn't cooperating yet. Ruijerd's jaw tightened. He stared at the lizard man and the bug lady, who both flinched simultaneously. I dislike this intensely. Noted. But I understand the necessity. He said it the way a man admits he needs a dentist. Overwhelmed by Eris's vehemence and Rudeus's quiet persistence, he reluctantly agreed. The bar Rudeus needed to clear had gotten considerably higher. He'd just have to trust himself. Not that there were many people he had less faith in. Their first job was reuniting a client's lost cat, which turned out to be a panther. The client, a sweet little girl named Mysel, had already marked the task card complete before they'd found the animal, because she just knew Ruijerd was going to succeed. Ruijerd patted her gently on the head. I didn't know there were any good devils, but now I do. For a moment, his face froze. 1 scrap iron coin, their entire reward, a true fortune. Back at the guild, the horse-headed man Nokapara immediately started goading them. Rudeus, slipping into his polite young adventurer persona, deflected his jibes by complimenting him as a veteran who'd given valuable advice. Oh, sure, guess you got a point, said Horseface, getting bashful. What a pushover. The next morning, Jalil was waiting at the guild entrance, having already ranked them up, in full adventurer gear, which threw Rudeus off momentarily, since lizard people all looked somewhat alike when dressed the same. Nokapara appeared again immediately. Seriously, what did this guy do for a living? And recognized Jalil. P. Hunter. Sure, you should rank up to C. You won't be able to work those pet jobs anymore. Glancing between them, he concluded with a knowing neigh that Dead End had acquired new mentors. Timid little Jalil's found himself some apprentices, and one of them's even a bogus supered. Guha, he asked about Roman. Yeah, Roman, died. Ah, gotcha. That's too bad. A few friendly slaps on Jalil's back, and Nokapara wandered off, having wrapped everything up neatly for himself. Jalil let out a small sigh of relief. At the task board, Rudeus grilled Jalil. Is there a difference between harvesting and collection tasks? Sure. They call it harvesting when you're gathering plants. The collection ones are mostly for stuff from monsters. He also apologized to Ruijerd for putting his reputation on the back burner. That's all right, Rudeus. I understand. Progress. Outside the city, they hunted Pax coyotes. Ruijerd had them pile up the first group's corpses, Then Rudeus spread the scent using wind magic to lure every coyote in the vicinity. Why hunt one at a time when you can advertise a free buffet? By day's end, over 100 packs coyotes killed. The skinning was considerably less triumphant. After pelt 30, Rudeus's arms ached and the stench of blood was nauseating. He quit after 70 and swapped with Eris, who managed 30 before throwing in the towel, apparently even less suited for manual labor than Rudeus, which was saying something. Ruijerd, having slaughtered monsters with single-minded efficiency for hours, then had them burn and bury the corpses. Leaving bodies created zombie coyotes, a fact Rudeus immediately tried to exploit. What if we buried them without burning? Wait for a zombie coyote slaying job to appear. Profit? Ruijerd shot this down. Deliberately multiplying monsters was a major taboo. Wish they'd write these local rules somewhere. 3 days later, rank E. Rudeus gave Jalil his 10% cut, and Jalil casually mentioned he also ran a pet store. First he steals them, then he sells them. The audacity. Jalil was a Rogonian, a race renowned for beast-taming expertise, supposedly capable of domesticating anything from a stray mutt to a proud warrior of the beast folk. Goodness gracious, what a wicked tribe. Don't do anything too evil, okay? Yeah, I know. Time for new equipment. Eris chose practical pants. Rudeus spotted a frilly pink one-piece in a corner and suggested it as an option. She grimaced in disgust. You seriously want me to wear something like this? He countered with the argument that it couldn't hurt to have one girly dress. She shoved a fur vest at him, something a mountain bandit might wear. He considered it, briefly pictured the two of them standing side by side in those outfits, and immediately dropped the idea. At the armor shop, Rudeus took a professionally framed opportunity to examine Eris's breastplate fit. You should probably go with one that's one size larger. Why? We're still growing kids. Anything that fits perfectly now will be too small in no time. She muttered complaints but accepted the oversized plate. Every helmet was rejected on grounds of heaviness, ugliness, smelliness, or poor visibility until she settled on a headband with iron plates sewn in. Do I look like an adventurer? She twirled happily. It looked a bit like a cosplay, honestly, especially with the oversized breastplate. Splendid, miss. Simply splendid. You're the very picture of a seasoned warrior. You think? Heh. For himself, Rudeus found a robe made of maki rat hide, actual rodent, the shopkeeper clarified with some irritation as a certain image in red shorts briefly floated through Rudeus's mind. Baggy on him, but he'd grow into it, and the material was genuinely tough. He somewhat liked that it was made from a grey-skinned rodent, fit nicely with his last name. After haggling, 6 scrap irons. He also bought 2 headbands like Eris's in different colours, one for Ruijerd to cover his forehead eye if needed, one for himself. Why did he need one? It's no fun being the odd man out, you know. Meanwhile, Ruijerd had been spying on Vizquel. She'd taken an insect extermination job. Her saliva was naturally poisonous and irresistible to bugs, making her essentially born for this work. The client was a cranky elderly woman who would chase off anyone who displeased her in the slightest. Vizquel annihilated every insect, then stopped up gaps with webbing as a preventative measure. Thank you, Vizquel. Those things were driving me crazy. No problem. If you ever need anything, just remember the name Dead End Ruijerd, okay? She'd even handed the old lady extra saliva-based bait as a parting gift. Customer service that would make any door-to-door salesman weep with admiration. I guess they're not rotten to the core after all, Ruijerd. Perhaps not. However, the fact remains that they committed many evil deeds. Yeah, but right now, they're out there putting in an honest day's work, just like you, Ruijerd. Of course, they may only be playing along for the moment. We should keep checking in. Ruijerd furrowed his brow. You joined forces with these people. Do you not trust them at all? Of course not. The only people I trust in this whole city are you and Eris, Ruijerd. I see. All things considered, a smooth start. 3 weeks later, rank D. Rudeus checked the specific promotion criteria. The guild was surprisingly bureaucratic for a band of monster-slaying mercenaries. Current savings, 1 green ore coin, 6 iron coins, 14 scrap iron coins, 35 stone coins. Total, 1,875 stone coins. He stopped before converting it to any other currency. It doesn't matter what this would buy on a different continent. He decided to keep the arrangement with Jalil and Vizquel until rank C, The money was easy. Why stop now? Then a task on the guild board caught his eye. B rank, locate and defeat an unknown monster in the Petrified Forest. Reward, 5 scrap irons, 2 iron coins if defeated. Jalil warned it smelled fishy. Rudeus had to agree the description was vague, and they'd already been burned once. 2 weeks ago, a collection task for acid wolves had turned out to require complete bodies, not just fangs and tails, a detail not mentioned anywhere, and they'd ended up paying a breach of contract fee. Just thinking about it was intensely frustrating. But 2 iron coins was very tempting, and with Ruijerd and Eris waiting outside, there was no one to stop him. Well, even if this mystery monster isn't there, there's plenty of stuff worth selling in the Petrified Forest. Guess it might be worth a shot. In retrospect, a few weeks of easy success had left him overconfident. His impatience pushed him toward a big payday. The Petrified Forest was a full day's journey from Rikarisu, bone-like trees with jagged stony branches, home to B-rank executioners and almond anacondas. Only merchants in genuine hurry cut through it, always with multiple skilled bodyguards. 3 parties had converged outside. The B-ranked Super Blazers, led by Blaze, a pigman Rudeus recognized from their first guild day, short-tempered and loudly irritated by the presence of D-rankers. The D-ranked Tokurabu village toughs, led by a sullen-faced kid named Kurt, and Dead End. The leaders' meeting revealed a triple booking. Blaze was slaying white fang cobras, Kurt was collecting mysterious eggs, Rudeus was locating the unknown monster, all probably the same creature or connected. Whoever finds the monsters first wins, Blaze declared. If they kill everything, we both fail, Kurt protested. Rudeus concluded that reporting what they saw would probably satisfy his client regardless, and any loot haul would cover breach of contract. Dead End doesn't need babysitters either, thank you very much, he announced, and left without waiting for a response. Then Ruijerd spoke up. I'm worried about those 3 children. Ruijerd, if we stick too close, they'll realize you really are a superd. I don't care. It's going to cause all kinds of problems. What then? Are you telling me to stand back and let them die? Let's just follow from a distance and help them out if they get in trouble. They set off after Kurt's party. The Tokurabu toughs very promptly found themselves facing an executioner they hadn't even noticed approaching. They need our help. Ruijerd tensed. No, not yet. They're not backed into a corner yet. The kids were gaining distance from the executioner. But then a group of almond anacondas, 3 meters long, venomous B-rank, in packs of 3 to 5, was waiting directly in the path of their retreat. Trapped between both most feared inhabitants of the Petrified Forest. We should go, now! No, wait just a little longer. The worse things got before they showed up, the deeper the gratitude would be. He'd heal them afterward. Perfect. Heh, perfect. Ah! Shouted Eris. The bird-like boy flew through the air in 2 separate pieces. One blow. His wicked smile froze. Those kids had been in terrible danger from the very start. He was the one being thoughtless. I told you. Ruijerd's voice was full of frustration. Rudeus fired a stone cannon at the executioner, strong enough to obliterate a stone Trent. In his flustered panic, he misaimed. Its upper right arm was gone instead of its chest. It picked up the sword left-handed and charged. He created a muddy bog in its path, sent it toppling, dropped an enormous rock on it. Ruijerd and Eris had already eliminated all the almond anacondas. Kurt approached, pale and trembling. Thanks, man. Seriously. You guys are really strong, huh? That's okay. I'm sorry we didn't get here sooner. Ruijerd grabbed Rudeus by the robe. That was your fault. We could have saved all 3 of them. Yeah, you're right. Look, I'm trying my hardest. I just wanted to get us the best possible outcome. Because the boy died. Eris wasn't defending him this time. She was staring at Gablin's corpse, processing her own feelings. Then Kurt stepped in. Don't start fighting now. I can tell what happened. You saw us fighting and argued about whether to help. No reason was necessary. Adults have a duty to protect children. We're not children. We're adventurers. Rudeus made the call any leader should have. Ruijerd fell silent. Still, one of your friends died, boy. Yeah, I know. We knew death was a possibility. Any adventurer is prepared to face that risk, young or old. Something in the tirade struck home. Ruijerd lowered Rudeus to the ground with a brief apology, reclassifying them mentally as warriors and concluding that Rudeus had been respecting their pride and he himself had been overly eager. Rudeus didn't find this convincing, but there was definitely a small part of him thinking, "Nice! Good thing he got the wrong idea." He wanted to smack himself in the face. They escorted Kurt and his friend to the forest entrance. Ruijerd recognized them as warriors and wouldn't go further. They may not make it back safely, but they have resolved themselves to face that risk. Kurt's posture as he walked away was so melancholic that Eris impulsively ran up. "Good luck out there." He sensed her meaning despite the language barrier. "Thank you. Is this how you do it?" He took her hand, leaned forward, kissed it near her thumb knuckle, smiled brightly, and walked away. Eris froze completely, then spun around, vigorously rubbing her hand against her armor. No, you've got it all wrong." She ripped off her glove and threw it into the forest. "I won't even use this anymore. Don't throw away your equipment." Rudeus and Ruijerd said in unison, "Those things cost money." "Oh, shut up!" Then she shoved her hand directly into Rudeus's face. He licked it, reflexively. Eris's face went red. Approximately half a second later, she punched him. He barely stayed conscious and briefly thought she'd snapped his neck. Looking up at her from the ground, he watched her stare at the spot he'd licked, touch it briefly with her own tongue, flush bright red, then scrub her hand forcefully against her clothes. "Sorry about that, Rudeus, but you can't lick me, all right?" It was all pretty adorable, so he forgave her on the spot. Deeper in the forest, Rudeus thought about Ruijerd's moral code. The man had an absolute system. Warriors must protect children, must never forsake comrades. He'd pegged the pet napper as a villain the instant he kicked Rudeus. The other two had pleaded for their lives instead of seeking revenge, same category. Kurt's tirade had reclassified the toughs as warriors, explaining Ruijerd's easy forgiveness of the whole situation. Rudeus still wasn't sure where he himself fell on that spectrum. Probably best not to ask. Before he could decide, Ruijerd announced, "There's a battle taking place up ahead. The Super Blazers. They're not going to need our help." They emerged from the trees into a clearing where 4 corpses lay scattered around an enormous snake, 10 meters of coiled muscle, neck wider and flatter than its body, 2 distinct bulges halfway down the trunk. One of those was presumably a great big lump of pork. "A Red-Hood Cobra," said Ruijerd. "I wouldn't have expected to find one in this forest." Red-Hoods were a more powerful variant of White Fang. Larger, more agile, fire-resistant scales, enormous venomous fangs. White Fangs were B-rank, Red-Hoods were A-rank. A typical B-ranked party, wiped out in seconds. 6 bodies, total party wipe. "We can take this thing, right?" said Eris, sword already out. "Shall we attack it?" Ruijerd asked. Rudeus thought it through. Reporting what they'd seen would probably satisfy the client, but 2 iron coins was very tempting. "I could defeat it by myself, if you prefer," offered Ruijerd. "More than enough for this job. Can you also protect Eris?" "Not a problem. We'll fight the same way we always do." "Let's do it then." Rudeus fired a stone cannon enhanced for extra power, a hollow wedge-shaped rock packed with fire magic to explode on impact, fired at supersonic speed. The Red-Hood Cobra twisted and evaded it mid-flight. Not a coincidence. It had spotted the projectile and reacted in time. The stone exploded harmlessly in the forest. "You've got to be kidding me." He sharpened the tip of his next projectile to increase speed. The Cobra dodged that too. Rudeus found himself running rapid calculations as he fired and missed again. Was this instinct, the same way a cat swats at a falling object? Or was it something more, the creature reading the flow of his mana as it gathered, predicting where the spell would land before it even launched? If B-ranked monsters could reliably track magical projectiles in flight, then raw power and speed weren't enough. He needed unpredictability, curves, simultaneous angles, and if S-ranked creatures could do all that while also shrugging off direct hits, he was going to need significantly better ideas before he encountered one. Mental note: file that particular thought away under future problems that will definitely become present problems. Ruijerd charged. The Cobra swayed around his trident thrust, bit at him, got its fangs deflected with a casual swipe. Eris circled to the rear, chopped at its tail. The blow struck, but didn't cut through. Scales and muscles formidably tough. Every time Rudeus fired, the Cobra dodged again. It was reading his projectiles in the air. Ruijerd persistently targeted vital organs. Eris kept darting in at the tail as distraction. Rudeus kept firing to split attention. The Red Hood focused entirely on Ruijerd, who masterfully absorbed its aggression while growing slowly fatigued. Its movements began slowing, and in the end, one stone cannon finally struck home. Processing the body took until sunset. Snake meat for dinner, naturally. Fangs ripped out, skin stripped, and rolled up like a carpet. Eris took one look at the slab of red cobra being roasted over the fire and announced that she categorically refused to eat something she had just watched try to kill them. Rudeus pointed out that this was, technically, the ideal time to eat something, when it was definitively no longer in a position to return the favor. She ate it while making a face that suggested she was doing him a profound personal favor. "It tastes like revenge," she declared. "Chewy revenge." Ruijerd consumed his portion in complete silence, with the serene expression of a man who had eaten far worse things under far worse circumstances and had opinions about none of them. Rudeus decided this was the most Ruijerd thing he had ever witnessed. Kurt's mysterious eggs were found nearby, but were too large to carry. Rudeus smashed them, deliberately allowing monsters to spawn. No. They relieved the super blazers of valuables, burned and buried their bodies, then headed back. Reflecting on the battle, Rudeus noted that the cobra had dodged his magic repeatedly until that final strike. The executioner earlier had probably done something similar. He needed to assume monsters ranked B or higher could avoid magic. S-ranked monsters might shrug off a stone cannon entirely. Mental note: keep distance from dangerous places. One way or another, they'd managed to complete their task. As it turned out, it would be the last one they ever finished in the city of Rikarisu.